Hey, as a DM in D&D, how do you deal with players who derail your game by taking ludicrous actions? Brian Von VA here. Let's talk about that. Unless this player or players are ruining the game for the rest of the team, you don't. The game is not about you. It's about the players. You are merely a reactive storyteller. You are not supposed to be a tyrannical storyteller that will get his story told regardless of what decisions or actions the players take. No player wants to be a part of a campaign that is already set in stone. What's the point of RPing if all roads lead to the DM's preconceived conclusions of how the story should go? It's lame. Can you influence the direction of the story? Yes, but chances are if multiple players are wrecking all of your plans, they are probably bored and don't want any part of it. Ask the players what they want to do in the world you created and go from there. I realize it's a lot easier to come up with all of your own plot outside gameplay than it is to be reactive with your plot, but that's what a good DM does. Now, if it's just one or two players messing with your campaign and everyone else is super annoyed at the player or players, then start to implement some consequences. I would pull the player aside and tell the player that he is ruining the game for everyone else, and if he is not careful, you will start implementing consequences. Just be sure that the problem is with the players and not the DM before you go off on them. My guess is that the DM in question is not setting difficulty expectations the way you want him yourself to. Ludicrous is a relative term. What it looks like will vary wildly from game to game. Some stories encourage the heroes to leap up the rocks floating in a lava waterfall so they can get a vantage point from which to swan dive down the gullet of a monster faster than it can bite them, so they can kill it from the inside. Because that's awesome. In other stories, that should result in a face full of lava the first time the character tries to leap off the first rock flow. Because I don't care who you are, you can't actually leap up a waterfall. Most tabletop RPG stories are somewhere in between. The DM needs to make it very clear just how much ridiculousness is reasonable for players to attempt in the game. If this is the sort of story where ludicrous gets you killed, then the DM needs to set the odds of ludicrous succeeding so low that the players figure it out. Or you just tell them that before you even start the damn game, in my opinion. This has nothing to do with player level or player bonuses or anything like that. It isn't the rules game, it's the DM's. If it's a game where lava jumping shouldn't work because, physics, then it shouldn't work even if the player is level 999 and has a plus 11 billion bonus to jumping. Set the difficulty at 11 billion and 19 on a D20, if you have to. Also, the DM probably shouldn't have allowed him to acquire that high of a jumping bonus in the first place. That's poor player communication. I myself prefer games that are mostly realistic, with punctuated moments of improbably awesome. And I will absolutely vary the difficulty of a task based solely on how awesome I think it would be for it to happen at this moment in the story. I find that this tends to be well received by players. What they really want are moments where everybody at the table can go, "That was awesome!" And they know that this rule or principle encourages that, and only that. One of my favorite such moments was actually a failure. The party was crossing the Alps when they were attacked by a 20-headed Hydra. The Hydra burst out of the trees right into the middle of the party, splitting it in two, and almost immediately downing the one party member, thus separated from everybody else. Simon, one of the party's roguelike characters, decided that he had to rescue this person. He got the beast's attention and then proceeded to try and dive past it. This would require Simon's player to make 20 individual dodge rolls against a monster that had already proven its chops. I told them that this was highly unlikely to succeed, but dodging was Simon's thing, so in he went. Of the 20 individual Hydra heads snapping at him as he dove, twisted, and rolled, Simon managed to dodge 19. Ultimately, he was snared by the Hydra, and saving him made things even harder on the party, but that was okay. The party knew he had a fair shot because if he had succeeded, it would have been awesome. And because of that, we still tell the story of how awesome it was that Simon almost dodged the Hydra. Firstly, I generally don't plan out sessions in the sense that there is one solution to the problem. I generally present open-ended problems. Monsters are harassing the village? Deal with it. Now the resolution may be ride until we find them, then kill them all. It can also be set up a trade deal where the goblins work the town mine, increasing overall production, making the town wealthier and earning wages for the goblins. So, everyone is happy. I generally don't care how they resolve things, and I will award points for a resolution, not just combat. Also, Rule 1 is always in effect. The world is real, act like it. You can try to attempt any action that your PC can physically attempt, but I don't care what the dice say. Physics or physics plus magic is a thing. There are limitations that you can't overcome, but you can try though. Or let's just say some pissy PC gets bored and ganks a guard. Sneak attack, nat 20. Okay, he's stone dead. Oh, by the way, now the constabulary is after you, and you can't go back to that town where all your stuff is. In the inn, where you left it. Basically, I let players know about the realism rules at the very beginning, and I really only need to impose realistic consequences and the behavior tends to correct itself. Except when I ran the Land Pirates game, where I made it clear that being a loon was a feature, not a bug. Golden rule. For any cases like this, such as my players are derailing my story, my players are murder hobos, my players are acting inappropriately, etc., is to always talk to your players. That's right, communication is key here. Try to understand why they are doing what they are doing. Learn if this is something that is happening because of you and your story, because of them and their expectations to the game, or the way their personalities are, or what in fact is pushing them to act the way they are acting, and if it's an issue with the group or not. Many times, you will find that things that wreck the game for you are actually fun for the rest of the players. Now, of course, if you are not happy with how they wreck your story, they should be understanding to your situation, since you are meant to have fun with the game as well. But the point is that sometimes you will find that the story is doing great, just not the way you pictured it or wanted it to. And if that's the case, you should remember that just because no one else thought of one particular solution to a plot issue in the story does not mean it cannot be valid. Sure, you didn't plan for it, but oftentimes you can with some good improvisational skills and the right attitude, taking that surprising course of action and turning it into something that pushes the story forward in new and interesting ways. Or can at least cut short a plot line and solve issues that were risking becoming boring so that you can be free to explore new adventures and plots. I'll give you an example, and a very recent one at that. I had a group tied on a quest to escort a princess out of a heavily guarded town. Oh good, an escort quest. Everyone here who's a gamer knows how bad those are. Looking at you, Ashley. The party had been planning for a while on the way to sneak her past the city gates, which overlooked a river. They would put the princess in a boat, dust her with dust of disappearance, and while the party managed to sneak with invisibility spells into the tower and open the gates while they neutralized the guards at the turn of their shift, one of the players would push the boat forward and get the princess out. This is a perfect plan, gave me clear ideas on challenges to put in their way. But as I had laid down my traps and issues with which to challenge them, and as the party got together to review the finer details of the plan, one player decided to just stroll right up to the tower. Oh, cocky! He used his reputation in the city to get up the wall, despite some patrols running around, then used his awesomely high skills and dexterity to open the lock of the tower door, sneak in, climb the tallest tower, and get past the guards as they gathered at the top floor. From there, he disguised himself with magic to look like one of the guards. And with his initiative as high as it was, his arrows dealing as much damage as they did, and his spells in crowd control being as powerful as they were, he proceeded to exterminate the entire garrison of the tower, including the captain of the guard and the watcher of the tower, before either could summon reinforcements or activate the magical traps I had set in place. By the time the rest of the party decided that they could wait for this one character no longer and had to risk enacting the plan on their own, that one player had eradicated all opposition. The players got there and everyone was already dead. One player had just walked on over, strolled into the tower, killed everyone, and won the adventure on his own. This was something no one at the table expected or would have tried, and it completely derailed the session, sped up all encounters, and left the entire party sidelined. Was this something unexpected? Yeah. Did this wreck the session? Of course. Did this throw all of my planning out the window? Yes. But was it fun for said player? Yeah. Was it something amazing for the rest of the party to gawk at? Yes. Will we be talking about this for years to come? Most likely. Can I come up with good consequences for said decision on the part of the player that may take the setting, the characters, and the adventure down interesting paths? Sure. In fact, I planted some seeds for it in the adventurer's epilogue already. An NPC from the city guard was aiding them, and did not expect one of the party to murder his entire garrison of friends, but rather that the party would enact the plan and just cast sleep spells and the like to neutralize them, which is something that will now have serious repercussions on future adventures. That being said, if you have a player that does this kind of thing on a regular basis and the rest of the group and yourself are all having a bad time because of this one player that keeps acting like no sane person would, and derailing your campaign at every turn, and if no amount of off-game conversation can lead you guys to a solution, and you cannot spin his actions or her actions into something cool and useful for the game itself, I think it might be time to let this player go. I am very sad to say. That's true. When communication breaks down to a point where no words can reach the ill-advised, the best thing you can do is just let him go. Because, honestly, you don't want bad blood, do you? Hey everybody, Brian Von VA checking in after the vid. Please make sure to leave a like, subscribe, ring that bell, and of course, tell your friends, tell your family, go outside, spray paint the D20 on some car. I'm kidding, don't do that. That's terrible, terrible idea. Or is it? Anyway, all that jokes aside, I just want everybody and anybody out there to be happy, healthy, and of course, to remember, you are loved and we love you. Make sure to leave a good comment down below letting us know how you deal with players that derail your game taking ludicrous actions. All the love. We'll see you next time. Bye for now.